wanted to make sure that I recorded it because there's probably going to be people that want to hear this information that won't be available at this time. But for those of you that don't know me, I'm Nicole Newman. I'm the superintendent of the Wheatland Union High School District. I'm going to just take 1 second and let my admin team that's here, the leadership team, introduce themselves, and then we'll move forward with our presentation.
Hey folks, good evening. My name is Ty. I'm the principal at Wheatland Union High School. Really excited to be bringing kids back and happy that y'all are here tonight. So thanks for coming.
My name's Shondia Edwards. I'm the assistant principal at the high school, and I also have 2 children that go to our high school. I have a senior and a current freshman. I'm very excited to have kids back on campus.
Ms. Freeman, are you here?
Hi guys, my name's Ashley Freeman. I'm the director of special programs, so I oversee all of the IEPs, 504 plans, and I kind of want to just say that I also have 2 children at the high school. I have a freshman this year and also a junior, and I'm excited for the kiddos to be returning as well. Thank you.
Mr. Olson, do you have the presentation on your computer?
I do, yeah. I have it up right now if you want to
let
me sharing.
So what I'd ask everyone to do, please feel free to ask questions. I guess depending on how large the group is, we can you can ask questions after we get done with our presentation. I'm going to address some of the questions that have already been asked. And if you have any more questions above and beyond that, we're more than welcome to answer those for you. Who knows how I give Mr. Olson? I should know this by now. Mr. Olson, how do I give you rights? Multiple participants. Okay, see if you can share.
Screen share. Is there a button on the side that says add? On the button on the side of the screen sharing button, I believe.
Okay, I'm going to make you.
I got it.
I'm going to make you a host. So again, feel free to put questions in the chat, anything that comes up in your head while we're going over this. And so we can definitely address it before we close the meeting.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Let me, oh, here we go. All right. Let me make sure I can, okay. All right, you want me to jump in, Nicole?
Absolutely, go for it.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Again, thanks for being here. So what we're going to present to you all tonight is a board-approved hybrid reopening plan. This plan was originally presented at a stakeholder meeting in July. At that point, we had hoped students would come back to campus in August, and of course, state guidelines changed that and pushed us into distance learning. So we're excited to be coming out on the other side here and getting kids back on campus in the form of a hybrid model. So what you guys will see tonight is similar to that previous plan, just with updates based on state and county guidance for safety and mitigation. So hybrid students will be on campus 2 days per week in cohorts starting Monday, October 26th, which is just the Monday after this upcoming Monday.
Mr. Olson, I don't see, can you make sure you're sharing the right stuff? Right now, all I see is the PowerPoint.
What else do you want me to have on there?
It's not open all the way, Mr. Olson. It's never transitioned all the way to the.
You might have shared the wrong screen.
Give me 1 second.
Distance learning is a struggle for everyone. It's something new every day. And like I said, you'd think by now we would have this down pat, but there we go. I think that might work now.
Hold on. I got it. Can y'all see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And now can you see it?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, so here's what we know, guys. We've seen kids struggling, and another thing I wanted to say is just a huge thank you to our teachers, our parents and our students for the perseverance of getting through distance learning. We closed in March initially, and it's been 8 months to get to this point. And so, you know, all the hard work from the teachers at Wheatland High, the parents at home, and the kids to persevere through the distance learning model. I think folks deserve a lot of credit. So getting kids back on campus, here's what we know. Kids will be broken up into two cohorts. A group is A through L. B cohort is M through Z. We have made some exceptions to the cohorts. Probably the best example is if there's two children in the same household that happen to have different last names, that would put them in separate cohorts. We were able to make changes for transportation ease for families that have a situation like that. If you have a request for a switch of cohort for your student, please reach out to Miss Edwards at the high school, and she's been working on that. We're not able to necessarily support cohort changes for friend groups, but for other circumstances like transportation or other extraneous circumstances, we certainly will try to accommodate. So here's what we know. Kids learn best in the classroom. The void of not having the rapport and the relationship building with teachers, I think causes students to get more easily distracted. When they have that relationship built with the teacher in the classroom, they tend to be more focused on the curriculum and ultimately a better learning experience for the kids. That social emotional connection is the same thing. The kids want to feel supported by their teachers, and that same connection just doesn't come through distance learning as the in-person learning experience. We want to give kids certainty during an uncertain time. We all know these are uncertain times. 2020 has been an intense year to say the least. And so we want to provide the kids with some certainty by having them back at least part-time, 2 days a week, and then moving towards a traditional model as soon as safety protocols allowed. By putting students into the cohorts, we're cutting class sizes in half. We're cutting the student numbers on campus at any given time in half. And so that allows us to more realistically implement safety guidelines for mitigation. Half the amount of kids in a classroom, half the amount of kids out in the quad during lunchtime or other breaks. And so we feel confident about mitigation and keeping them safe with the cohort groups. Again, the cohorts A and B will naturally create class sizes approximately 50% of what they were prior to closure. So these are our options during hybrid model. So the majority of our student body will be looking at option number 1, transition to traditional education, and this is our hybrid. So you guys can see in the infographic, we have cohort A on Monday, cohort B on Tuesday. Wednesday, there are no classes and students will be at home, but they will have a 3-hour office hour window where they can reach any teacher live on camera. And that should be used for questions, clarification, turning in assignments, testing, retesting, really any additional help that kids would need from their Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday cohort session. And then we repeat that on Thursday and Friday, cohort A on Thursday and cohort B on Friday.
Miss Edwards or Mr. Olson, could you speak to, I know there's been some questions about why we chose AB instead of AA or AABB. So could you address that and some of the conversations we've been having as a leadership team and with the board?
Sure. So, you know, I guess we want to be real clear to stakeholders that classrooms are going to be cleaned and disinfected every single day. And so the reason that we opted for the AB is that we wanted kids to have a connection with an in-person teacher spread out throughout the week rather than having that large gap of 5 days without seeing a teacher live. So for example, if we did AA Monday, Tuesday, there would then be 5 days in between that cohort A seeing a teacher in person. And so we thought it would provide continuity for the student learning experience to see the teachers twice a week in a spread out fashion, Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday. Second option is option number 2 you guys are seeing on the infographic, and that is our independent study model. With independent study, kids are in an online learning curriculum that we use called Admentum, and they will have twice a week, they'll have minimum of an hour check-in with a live teacher where they'll go over the work they've done and set progress for the next meeting. So the independent study model is an option for families that don't want their students returning to campus at this time. All right, so here, this is our hybrid bell schedule. So an additional benefit to them coming back to class, currently their classes are 30-minute windows, which is pretty short for a high school class. Generally they're, you know, between 45 minutes to an hour. So we have 46-minute periods to give longer class period times for our kids. And then note, period 1, we've added 10 minutes so that every single student will be temp checked before they come into class each day. So that's what the additional time is there for in period 1. There's some questions about food service and how that will work. We're going to have, you know, somewhere between 300 to 400 kids on campus on a cohort day. So rather than have students going inside, all this is for mitigation purposes. We're going to have 5 outdoor kiosks or sales points where kids will be able to order food without long lines or crowd gatherings at a touchless kiosk system where they won't have to touch a keypad. Another big thing that we've done is we're adding 8 lunch monitors, including our administrative team that's always out at lunch. So at any given time, we'll have 10 to 12 lunch monitors around campus. And the purpose of that is to have additional supervision to ensure social distancing, kids wearing their masks. The exception to wearing a mask on campus, and this is our mantra that we really want to get out to teachers and students, is that kids must wear masks at all times on campus unless they are seated and eating. And so what that means is we've seen kids on campus wanting to string a bag of Cheetos across campus and eat them real slowly throughout the day in an attempt to keep their mask off. And we don't want that to be an option for the kids. So they're free to eat, obviously, and they can take their mask off if they're sitting down and eating in one spot. I touched on the touchless keypads in order to get food. And obviously,
are you with the children
workers
face masks?
will be wearing PPE just like all of our staff and students.
Can you guys hear me?
Barely.
Boy, let me get my son and see if I can have him fix the speaker here. I'm having the hardest time. That's why my face is in the screen. I'm having the hardest time hearing. Could you give me just 1 second, please?
Sure, Mr. Gallardo, I can try to speak up too. Is that any better?
A little bit. Are you able to hear me at all?
We can hear you.
Okay, I don't know how to respond to the chat online thing. I've been trying to type messages and I can't get it to send. Am I able to just ask my questions verbally, or do I have to type them all?
You can ask them verbally, but let's wait till the end.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Gallardo. So just food service continued. We also want to make sure that parents, stakeholders, community members know that we are going to offer food every day for kids if they're on a non-cohort day or if they're on an off-campus day. So we're going to keep our same 2 lunch pickup spots at the Wheatland High School parking lot and then at River Oaks and Hidden Creek and Plumas Lake. And that's going to be from 11:20 to 12:20, which is the time that we're doing it currently. And then the student on-campus lunchtime starts at 12:45, I believe. And so that way we won't have crowding in our parking lot while we have kids on campus, and we can still offer food to folks that are at home on their non-campus days.
Mr. Olson, Ms. Richardson has a question that's relevant to what you're talking about right now. She's asking, will they be seated for lunch seated for lunch with social distancing?
Yeah, so Ms. Richardson, you know, the guidance calls for social distancing whenever possible. And so the answer to that is yes. I mean, obviously it's not a perfect science with that many kids on campus to the extent that we will offer additional seating. And the expectation is that, yes, kids will be distanced.
What is your confidence that the children will be able to keep the face mask on?
Well, it's, you know, they have an option, right? So the rule has been they have to wear a face mask. And if they don't have a face mask, we have to provide them with a face mask. If they choose not to wear a face mask while they're on campus, then their option is going to be independent study. So, you know, if they're going to be defiant and not wear a mask, they'll have to stay home and do their work that way.
How many warnings? I mean, does a child get like 2 or 3 warnings, or is it the first time they're seen without the face mask? It's 1 warning. How does that go?
No, we'll warn them. And we've had about 80 kids roughly on campus the past couple of weeks, and we haven't had any problems. The biggest problem the only problem I think that we've had is at lunch. And that's why we've been going around and saying, you know, remember you've got to be seated when eating in order to take your mask off. So, you know, we're hopeful we don't want to be, we don't want to run it like a prison, but we also want to keep everyone safe.
Right.
Go ahead, Mr. Olson.
Sure. Yeah. Just to, sometimes, just like you see adults, sometimes you'll see the face mask come down below the nose, things like that. And so, we remind the kids to wear it properly. And just like Ms. Newman said, the kids have been great up to this point with that smaller group that we've had on campus. Mrs. Vice Principal Edwards is going to take over the presentation from here. Thanks, Sean.
Right. So during hybrid, our para educators will continue to support students on distance learning days. Students will be supported by classroom teachers when on campus. Our para educators will not necessarily be pushed into all classrooms, because our classrooms will be at a much smaller capacity at half the size. Case managers will monitor in-class and extension of classroom learning. Our moderate severe students, they will have the option of being on campus in 4 days a week. They're in a very small group, a very small cohort, so that cohort never changes. Supplemental services will be provided per the IEPs, which we've been doing on distance learning also, and academic and social emotional counseling service will continue. Ms. O'Neill has done a really good job. Our counseling center in general has done a great job of posting a Google Help number where kids can call and get help if they're struggling. There's a lot of our students who are struggling, and we're hoping that bringing them back on campus will help those students.
My worry is the ones that are not going to be allowed on campus are going to be struggling more than anything.
Right. So again, those services are still available, and Miss O'Neill makes herself available, and she does counseling via Zoom and Google also. Long-term independent study, that's for students who do not want to step foot on campus. We understand that parents have the right to choose, and we want you to do that. So students may enroll in long-term independent study. We use a curriculum that's called Edmentum. It has built-in notes and videos, quizzes and tests, and allows children to work at their own pace or to redo things that they're not understanding. They will still meet with a teacher via Zoom or Google, and they will get they'll get support just online, not in person. Some of our long-term independent study students will still choose to come on campus, and they will meet with those teachers in person if they choose to. Students are afforded all services, meaning that if students are in independent study, they can still see our counselors like Miss O'Neill. They still will get special ed services, so our paraeducators will still continue reaching out to them, and they're still eligible to play sports if they choose to, and that's important for many families. Students can also have a blended schedule. So for some of our students, their parents want to minimize how often they're at campus, but there are things that they choose to have them there for, such as they want them to still be able to do band or take welding. And so if that's something you want, please just call me. I'm happy to sit and talk to you and make you a blended schedule if that's what your family chooses to do.
Well, my family is choosing to listen to Anthony Fauci, the only person on the planet that is completely knowledgeable with pandemics. And he's saying to not allow my child in any building with more than 10 people in it.
Yes,
And
sir.
that's what
Yeah.
Since March. And after the economy crushed, everyone's trying to open schools, restaurants, and everything they can to formulate a dollar moving. And I have a special needs child at home that's extremely high risk. I was called by his doctor back in March, and she explained to me that if Daniel were to receive COVID-19, he would become a statistic. So it's not that we're choosing distance learning. We don't want to learn from home, and I will not homeschool my children. I'm not going to be homeschooling a child with special needs. My job in the IEP team is to make sure that everyone does their job correctly. That's my job as dad. I'm not the teacher. I'm not the OT. I'm not the speech. I haven't been knowledge for that. So my job is to make certain that my children's education is not going to be decreased through this.
Yeah.
I mean, if all services, whatever I got to do, I'll be certain that my children's education will not be decreased through this. Because in all actuality, I don't even see why the school's reopening at all. Because every school that's reopened has already had infected teachers, children, and it becomes a mess. And what I'm hearing, the hybrid model is basically designed around the child that doesn't want to cooperate from home.
Yeah, Mr. Gallardo, we'll address your concerns, but let us get through the presentation and then if we need to stay on after, we're more than welcome to do that.
Okay, thank
So
you.
health and safety are important to us. That's been our message since day one. And so we will ensure that all local safety protocols are followed. We've been in close contact with the county health department. And so we've issued PPE to all our staff. There's PPE available in the office. If students show up without face masks, we will give them face masks. All of our classrooms are stocked with cleaning supplies so that they're available to students and staff. All parents and guardians are asked to screen their children. If your children has over 100.4 fever, please do not send your children to school, or if they have any symptoms, such as a cough, we would appreciate you just contacting us and keeping them home. Same can be said for our staff. We have asked that our staff self-screen and that they take their temperatures and that they also not report if they're over 100.4. Staff, including our bus drivers, are trained to recognize possible COVID symptoms and refer students that are displaying symptoms. Students will be masked up on the bus at all times, so they will not be able to take their masks off on the bus. Mr. Olson, can you change the screen for me? Face coverings are required for all students and staff when they're on campus. As we said, we've had about 80 kids on campus, and our rule has been they're to have masks on fully over their nose and mouth unless they are seated and eating. Students, all students will wear face coverings on the bus. Face coverings will be provided to staff. Mr. Olson just changed my screen. Face coverings will be provided to the staff. Face coverings are available upon request for students. Gloves are available upon request for staff. Our staff actually has gloves in all their classrooms, and our bus drivers have gloves, and our technology assistants have gloves. Plastic shields have been installed in the front office area for our staff and for the public to interact.
Miss Edwards, are you talking?
Sorry, I just had to move locations. The gardener next door just showed up. So a cleaning log will be displayed in each bathroom. Hand sanitizing stations are in each classroom, and the labs and the gym we actually have hand sanitizing stations in our foyer and in our quad. Disinfecting spray bottles and paper towels in classrooms, gyms, shops, offices for students and staff for disinfecting. Soap and paper towel dispensers checked and stocked regularly. Classroom furniture arrangements. We've asked our staff to take out any furniture that was not necessary so that we could make the social distancing as far apart as we could for our desks. Signage will be posted at water fountain instructing students to fill water bottles or cups instead of using the water fountains. The water fountains are actually already covered up with plastic. Buses and touchable surfaces will be sanitized after the AM and PM routes. So I think
sorry for changing the slides on you, Sean.
All right, so I think we can move. It looks like we have some questions in our chat, Ms. Newman.
Okay, I'm gonna read them, and then anybody who wants to pipe in can answer them. Let's see. Ms. Coville wants to know about work assigned to students on Wednesdays.
Yeah, I can take that one. That's a good question. So, you know, one of the concerns with a lot of parents and students, I think, was the workload, trying to get through 7 classes a day at 30 minutes. And so this model will slow that down a little bit. So the answer to that is no, there will not be new work on Wednesdays. So Wednesdays is meant to be a work day for your kids without new assignments. So they can have that 3-hour window, 9 a.m. to noon, to see any teacher on campus live on camera. And there will be no new work. They're simply catching up on work or completing work that would potentially be due Thursday, Friday, or whenever the teacher assigns, but no new work Wednesdays.
And that's a
Okay.
3-hour window?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
9 to noon every Wednesday.
Ms. Manchester asked about the mask, but we've already addressed that. Ms. Goodley, the bus schedules are available on the website. We will also push those out in an email. And Jesse, are you on?
I believe our bus schedules haven't been.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse.
The bus schedules are currently being updated and will be posted to the website by tomorrow.
And we'll put those on social media and on our website and email those out to parents that have their emails in the system. I'm going to let Mr. Olson take the next 2 questions because he's been doing a really good job meeting with the lab, the science teachers, the PE teachers, the career and tech ed teachers, PE. The questions are, will kids in PE be required to social distance with masks on when exercising? And will the rooms be sanitized between periods?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I have been spending time meeting with all teachers who teach, I guess, maybe what you call non-traditional curriculum. Maybe we're talking about PE or labs and science or CTE, like in the wood shop or metal shop. And so students will be required to wear masks in the classroom. All equipment will be sanitized before and after each use. And so the teacher's going to be charged with overseeing that. But the rule of thumb will be that there will be ample supplies of disinfectant and paper towels in all classrooms. And students will be instructed with the supervision of the teacher to spray down their paper towel and sanitize any equipment before they use it and before they put it away. PE will be a little bit tricky, but again, we are going to practice all safety protocols. So they will be wearing masks in PE unless they're outdoors and can social distance. Also, we are not having them dress down for PE to avoid crowding in the locker rooms and to take that piece of potential crowd gathering away. So students will be allowed to participate in PE without dressing down during this hybrid period. Hopefully, I think that covers those.
There's a question about next Thursday and Friday. So next Thursday and Friday, it's gonna be asynchronous, and I'll let Mr. Olson talk about that, as well as Pirate Come About that we're gonna do for our freshmen.
Well, before you jump to that, I've seen someone in the chat there ask an actually really good question about the face mask. We've heard about the requirements for the children. Now, what about the staff? Are they required to wear face masks? I've seen someone just message that. What about the staff? That's an excellent question.
Yes, we went over that just a few minutes ago. They're required to wear masks just like the students. We also have face shields for them as well. So the rules are everybody on campus has to wear a mask, or they can't be on campus. So that's the rule. Mr. Olson, do you want to talk about Pirate Come About and next Thursday and Friday?
Yep. So I'm glad that question was asked. So next Thursday and Friday will be asynchronous days. And what that means is students need to check into their Google Classrooms, but their teachers will not be live those days. There potentially will be assignments in those Google Classrooms. So just like an asynchronous Wednesday for core classes currently, Thursday and Friday will be that exact same scenario for students at home. And the reason we're doing that is twofold. We're having half of the freshmen come on Thursday, the 22nd, cohort A through L. And then the second half of the freshman class, cohort B, which is M through Z, last name's M through Z, is coming on Friday. Both of those events are 8:30 to 12:30. And Pirate Come About, for folks that are not aware, is an annual freshman orientation that we do. Generally, we would do a full day. We've done a multi-day event in the past, but with the tight time frame, we wanted to offer an orientation for the freshmen so they have the nuts and bolts when they show up to class for the first time on campus on Monday the 26th. So in a nutshell, what that freshman orientation or Pirate Come About will look like is some introductions, campus tours, study skills, ins and outs of high school, feed them a cheeseburger, a hot dog, and get them home safely. So that's sort of the half-day event. And again, that's Thursday and Friday, the 22nd and 23rd next week. That information's on the website, Instagram, and Facebook. So we're really excited to just try to give the freshmen some bearings so they feel comfortable when they're coming to campus for the first time on Monday, the 26th.
There's been a couple questions about what will students be doing on their off days. I think it will depend on their individual teacher. I think what you'll see is some students will do instruction in class, and there will be an extension activity outside the classroom, some sort of independent learning or practice. So the hope is not to overbear kids with work, but to give them an extension of what they've already done and for them to see their teachers. Could be they do watch a supporting video or something of the such, or they'll be doing a lab or something at home that would be easily done or watched and taking notes on those off days.
Okay, did that answer everyone's questions? You know, we're just, hold on, Scott's got a question. Mr. Witt, you wrote a manifesto. It's going to take me a minute. Oh, yes, absolutely. I know. Thank you for that comment. You know, this isn't, I hear people a lot refer to money and, you know, us rushing to get kids back into school. And I just want to be really clear. This is not a fiscal, there's no fiscal impact on Wheatland High School or any school in California that's reopening, if they choose to reopen or if they choose to do distance learning. We have been along with our teachers and our board and our classified staff and parents. We've all been in the trenches, and our kids, maybe not all of them, I'll give you that, but our kids are struggling. We are fortunate that our board has supported recommendations from our admin team about having more mental health services at school. Corey O'Neill, who's our licensed marriage and family therapist that we have full-time this year, she is nonstop on the phone with kids and with families because they're struggling. You know, kids have been in their homes since March, and their mental health this is not normal for them. They're kiddos, and they need to be in school. They need to be with their teachers. They need to be with their friends. I completely understand and respect parents who choose to keep their children at home, and that's why we have alternatives for that. But we're starting out slow. You know, we could bring all kids back next or on the 26th, but we want to make sure that we can do it and do it right. We're gonna start out. We've already had a lot of parents that have said, can I send my kid to school 4 days a week? And we're like, no, not yet. So what we're asking is to give us a couple of weeks, you know, to get all of our ducks in a row. And then we're gonna, you know, we could potentially begin bringing back some of our special populations if we need to, but we need the first couple of weeks to make sure that our plans and procedures are going to run well and be effective. And just doing what's best for kids, because that's what we're all about. And we're just so excited to be able to have them back. And we just want to, you guys know me, you know, I mean, most of you that are on the call know me. And you know that we will do everything we can to keep your kids safe and to get them the best education possible. So Heather Forrest is asking, do you have any estimate of the number of students expected to ride the buses? So, you know, we've traditionally ended up on the chatter, you know, because we have sometimes our buses are a little overloaded. And so this past year we hired another bus driver. So that helped. We are going to run, and Jesse, you can speak to this too, but we're going to run the same amount of buses that we would run if we had 1,000 kids on campus. So we're not going to minimize our bus routes, but we aren't going to be able to follow the recommendations of the state and not, and put kids every other seat and one student to a seat. We're going to monitor it closely. We've also had a lot of parents that have chosen to bring their kids to school. And, I think if we need to add more, or do more, we will. Can you talk about how attendance is monitored on the 3 distance learning days so we can make sure our kids quote attend? I hear you, Angie. The teachers are still going to continue using Google Classroom. It will be communicated in there. Cyan Shandia, you correct me if I'm wrong. There will be an assignment that will be due on those days that they'll be able to collect attendance and grade that assignment. There was also a question about being concerned about having access to your teacher on the off days. You know, we've stressed to our teacher that we've got to give people our kiddos a lot of grace. And we're still going to continue with the 3 days, right? With the 3 days to get work in. We know that that's going to be an issue, that kids are going to struggle, and our teachers, if you like I said, if you have any issues, then please address them with your teachers first, and if that doesn't work, then you can always come to us. They're going to, Angie, they're going to have, they're not planning on assigning any new work, but they are going to have something that they've done Monday or Tuesday that's going to be due on that day. You know, we feel that, I hope that answered your question. You know, we're hearing from our kids that a lot of them are overloaded now as it is, and we don't want to, you know, we kind of need Wednesday as an amnesty day to you know, to back off and make sure that they get caught up and, you know, and read a book or go outdoors and get some fresh air. So do we have an estimate of the percentage of students doing the hybrid model? I think we'll probably have about 350 kids on campus. That would be my estimate. We'll know for sure next week.
What was that number, the estimate?
350.
So a third of the school?
Yes.
So 2/3 are staying home?
Roughly a third is on independent study. A third will be in one cohort and a third will be in another cohort.
So 2/3 of the school parents are saying that they don't want their children back on the campus due to the
No,
pandemic.
sir, those are the kids, because we're doing a hybrid, only part of our kids will be there. So if we take out the kids who are at our other school, we have a continuation school. We take out the kids that are on the hybrid or on the independent study model, and then we're left over with just the kids who will be coming to school. It leaves us with 350 kids per hybrid.
So 350 kids on day A on Monday, 350 different kids on day B, Tuesday.
And how many children attend your school?
We're about 960.
Okay, so 2/3 of the school is attending and 1/3 is opting to stay home.
Correct.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I wasn't the only one.
Actually, that might not be completely correct, because EPD is in that third, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So we actually have less than 20% of our families who have opted to do independent study full time.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, as far as that subject goes, you know, it's really concerning to me, because I'm not opting for my children to learn from home because I'm a better teacher. I'm forced to choose distance learning for my sons because I have a special needs child that's extremely high risk. He has a concave chest. His chest platelet sits on his lungs. We're listening to Anthony Fauci, which is the only person in our country that's proven to have extreme knowledge on pandemics. I get everyone wants their life back, but they need to understand that we are in a pandemic as well, you know, and the people that are high risk, that are actually at risk of dying from this, like thousands have already done. It's not, I don't agree, and I don't feel that it's fair that the children from home are being decreased so much. It's almost as if people are seeing it like they just choose distance learning instead of coming to the campus. But when we're talking about coming to the campus, let's see what we're really talking about. We're risking our children's lives from receiving, you know, a virus that's killing everyone.
You know, I think it's very, I respect your opinion. But we have been working very closely, my fellow superintendents in Plumas Lake and in Wheatland, and also with our county superintendent, Dr. Ravelis. We meet weekly with Dr. Liu, who is our health officer. You know, so there's some schools in Yuba County, or not Yuba County, but some schools in Sutter County that they're just going back full turkey. You know, they're going back. They're going to have 20 some kids in a classroom, and they're going to, you know, do whatever it is they need to do. But, you know, I'm of the opinion our kids need to come back to school. My board is of the opinion that our kids need to be back in school. We have options for our kids, and that's, you know, that's just kind of where we're at. Like I said, we're working very closely with Dr. Liu. You know, we've spent several, you know, a little over close to $200,000 on PPE and, you know, hand sanitizer and doing everything. We've added custodial staff, doing everything that we can to make sure that, you know, we keep our kids as safe as we can. So
you're going by a doctor's, you know, recommendations that I've never even heard of before. We've all heard of Anthony Fauci. We know his credentials. Does the doctor that you're listening to overrank Anthony Fauci's credentials?
Well, no, she's our public health officer for Yuba County, and she's appointed by the county supervisors. But, you know, Mr. Gallardo, I'd be more than glad to have a conversation with you. You can feel free to call me. But I want to wrap this up because people are, you know, people have their families to get to. Again, if anyone wants to contact me, y'all, you know how to get a hold of me. Just call the school extension 101.
Honestly, what was the point of me attending this meeting for 44 minutes? So you can call me after it's over?
No, I just don't want to keep everyone else. So again, I want to thank everyone for their participation this evening. And if there's not any more questions, I'm gonna end the meeting. Thank you.
The last question would be, when do I hear from you?